All right, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today, we're gonna be talking about my 5 favorite powder skis for 2024 going into 2025. These are the skis that I tested, that I personally skied on, that I personally reviewed, and my 5 favorites from this year, and skis that I would recommend, skis that I either would buy myself or have bought myself or have recommended to other people. I'm not sponsored by any of these brands. This is 100% just my opinion. As always, I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. No ski is perfect. Everything has a drawback, but with powder skis, it's a little bit different because with powder skis, you're usually going on the ski in the best conditions. So like, I don't know, just as a reviewer, as somebody skiing, I'm happier on a powder day. Who isn't? So take that with a grain of salt. I mean, it's really hard to have a bad time on a powder day. But that being said, like, that's why you usually see big gaps between powder ski scores, because if a ski ruins my powder day, I'm really upset. Like, that's really not gonna make me happy. But if a ski runs perfectly on a powder day, then you're gonna be thrilled. You're having the time of your life. That's kind of what we all live for. The other thing I will say, powder skis, like these pair of QST 106s that are my personal skis, you don't actually ski on them that much throughout the year. They might get dinged up because you can find rocks underneath powder, but typically you're only getting, like these skis, I guess I was reviewing other powder skis, but they probably only got about 10 days on them this entire winter. So, you know, if you're looking at powder skis, take that with a grain of salt. Understand the mileage is a little bit different than other skis. But without further ado, let's just jump into the list. Now, the first ski in my top 5 list is kind of a surprise. It was a ski I wasn't that thrilled by, but once I changed where I had my foot on the ski, it completely changed the ski's experience. That is the Peak 104. That is Bode Miller's ski brand. Now, they sent me that ski. I was very unsure about the ski, and when I skied on it with its recommended mounting point, I didn't like it that much. It had some stuff that I liked, but it really felt like the tails dragged and I wasn't getting the flotation that I wanted. Well, I mounted it 2 clicks back. 2 clicks means on the demo binding, you can move each one. So you have what your ski boot length is, and then you just move the toe and heel piece each one click back. And I did that 2 clicks back and found it to be perfect. When I measured it, it's hard to measure exactly just the way the tape measure goes on the binding, but I believe it's around 1 centimeter back. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, with 2 clicks back on the binding, these skis were phenomenal. They created a ton of float. They created no tail drag. They allowed you to actually sit on that tail properly. On top of that, it gave you more tip to kind of flex and get those nice open radius turns. If you really care about carving, you can do that. You can load up the front, and this ski is in an interesting spot where it was in my top 5 list of, you know, safe bet skis that you could throw in the car. But I will say this is in my top 5 list for powder skis. I absolutely love the Peak 104. I think it's a fantastic ski. If you like sendy powder skis that you can kind of gain momentum and send it through the powder, it's probably the narrowest ski on this list, but it doesn't feel like it. You really get the most out of that width underfoot, and I think a lot of that has to do with that tip shape. On top of that, you're also getting just what they call the keyhole technology, and the way I understand it to be functioning, I'm not sure, but the way that I felt it on my feet. There's always you know, these ski companies go, oh, here's the tech and here's what it's doing. But on a practical level, just as an everyday guy that loves skiing, what I felt is that the keyhole technology really allowed me to make quick maneuverable turns in the off-trail sections, which is huge because a lot of sendy skis like my QST 106s, they do a good job of floating and surfing, but they can struggle with the really quick turns. I would say the Peak 104 is the perfect compromise in that it's allowing you to get those big sendy open lines and kind of the quick turns. Now, I will say it's not as surfy as the QST 106. It's not as maneuverable as the Bent 110, but I think it probably carves a little bit better than both. So if you're somebody who wants powder skis but cares about carving still and doesn't want to sacrifice that, I think the Peak 104 is a fantastic powder ski, and that's why it's in my top 5 list of powder skis. It was absolutely fantastic and a phenomenal ski. All right, and number 4, we have the Atomic Maverick 105 CTI. This is a ski that was really fun. It did struggle a little bit in the area of flotation and maneuverability. It's really kind of a ski that wants to go more straight down the hill. It's all business, but the glide on it, the flotation is just excellent. So I guess take that with a grain of salt. It is a very good ski performance-wise. The flotation is excellent on it. I think if I just had to choose, I would get the Atomic Maverick 105 CTI. That would be on my top 5 of powder skis that I would like, but I don't think it's for everyone. I think that it's a very like point the tips down the hill kind of ski, and I don't think it's something that I would want if I was touring or if I was new to powder skiing. So this one's gonna be kind of a split award. I think that if you're new to powder skiing, new to like kind of getting into the trees, and you want something really maneuverable, really forgiving when you get in the bramble, go with an Atomic Backland 102 or a Headcore 105. But for me personally, just things that I like the way the Atomic Maverick 105 CTI skis, but I could see it not being for everyone. So I just want to give you that disclaimer, okay? It's not that those skis are bad or worse than the Atomic Maverick 105 CTI. It's just like a preference thing. What I value out of powder days at my home mountain. But I could see those being equally valuable choices for a lot of people, especially if you're just dipping your toes into powder skiing. But for me, I like that Horizon Tech. I like the way it feels on trail. I like the way that you can get into the powder and the lines that you take in the powder. It's not my favorite powder ski, but it's one of my top choices and something I really enjoyed. These aren't in any particular order, but this is probably the lowest one on the list. I think I like the Peak 104s a little bit more. But the Atomic Maverick 105 CTI has a lot going for it. It feels good if you lean back a little bit on the tails. It feels really good on the powder. It's got nice flowing turns. It's a different type of ski. You're kind of more center stanced. It's not like the QST where you lean back a little bit. It's not like the Backlands where you're a little bit forward and making maneuverable turns. But if you like the Atomic Mavericks and you're looking for a powder ski, it's a good choice and I like it. Overall, like it's just a very well-rounded ski, very high performing. It's not at the top of the list. I feel like there are other skis that do things better than it, especially for designated powder, but its overall performance is still high enough that it gets in the top 5 list of powder skis that I would want to own. If I was like, hey Elliott, it's a huge powder day, what are you gonna grab off the wall? That would be one of my top 5 choices, is the Atomic Maverick 105 CTI. I'm a sucker for the Atomic Maverick in general, but I think the 105 CTI blends that carbon with the Titanal in a really nice way that makes for a fun powder ski. It's not my top choice, but it's still very good. And if you don't like the way the bends feel with that center mount, if you don't like the way the QST 106s have to sit back a little bit, I would highly, highly recommend trying an Atomic Maverick 105 CTI. I don't think many people think of Mavericks and powder skis, but it's a nice ski and I gotta give it credit where it's due. Also, if you're looking at skis and you wanna buy them, please consider using the links down below. That's my son. I did not get this video done before he came home from school. You happy? Yeah. Anyway, if you want to support this channel, I don't take any money from any ski brands. I don't take any money for reviews. Maybe that's to my own peril, but it just ethically I don't like it. So any ski review, any of my opinions, they're 100% my own. I don't take any money from anyone. A lot of the ski brands, if they send me skis, I get to keep the skis just to kind of negate some of the cost of making these videos. But honestly, that doesn't really impact my opinion at all. Only do it if you're gonna buy the skis anyway, but if you're looking for a way to like, hey, I'm gonna buy this and Elliott was helpful towards my purchase, that's a free way you can do it. So all the links to these skis will be down below. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, I'm missing one. Oh God, do I not know how to count to 5? Oh God. Okay, well, let's make it top 6 then. My top 6 powder skis. Okay, anyway, here's number 3, number 2, number 3 on the list. Anyway, however you want to count it. Here's number 3, part 2. But my next favorite powder ski that I forgot about was the Black Crow's Draco Freebird. That ski was just phenomenal. Its highlights really are the construction and the material it's made out of, because it not only manages to be a 110, but it actually carves well. Like, the way that you flex it is like, how do you explain this? Whatever the material is that makes the ski flex and makes it feel lightweight at the same time is just phenomenal. It's the future of skiing. It's like the highlight of the ski. It also feels so light, so like when you go over bumps and you pick up your legs, the skis are so light that you pick them up easily. The flotation is nice. They're a little more center mounted. The big Achilles heel for that ski, honestly, is just the tip drag. If the powder gets heavy or wet or anything that's even remotely sticky, but the flotation, the light feeling of the ski, the really like beautiful carving, and like I said before, the way that the ski feels. You have to kind of massage it, but once you get it, you forget when you're on groomed runs that you're on a 110 ski. And as far as powder goes, it's very nimble, very forgiving in your turns. It's not as sendy. It's kind of probably on the more forgiving spectrum. If you have like sendy and really, wow, you're gonna take a fast line versus, oh, you know, this ski is gonna float, but it's also gonna maneuver little turns. This is definitely on the more on the maneuverability scale, but a fantastic powder ski, a fantastic feeling ski. This ski feels like if you had a time machine and someone grabbed a ski from the future, that's what this ski's material feels like. It's more of a backcountry ski, but it definitely deserves to be in my list of top 6, 5, 6, whatever powder skis, because it's just phenomenal. I love that ski, and that's a ski I would want to own. It has its hang-ups, but on good snow conditions, it's good. I would probably leave it at home later in the season when snow gets stickier and heavier, but on a good day, this ski is really good. All right, number 3, part 2, however you want to count it, doesn't really matter anyway. There's 6 total. I've totally messed up the numbering at this point, but okay, whatever. Number 3, part 2 is the Black Crow's Atris. Now, this was a ski that I didn't know much about going into it. It happened to line up perfectly with a bunch of powder days, but this was the most aggressive powder ski out of the bunch that I tried. It just really cruised through the groomers, it cruised through the powder, it really just cruises and gives you your momentum, gives you your speed, and gets you through those lines that you can't hit in other skis. It is probably the most advanced powder ski that I skied all year. Just in that it's not the easiest, it's not the most maneuverable, it's not the most forgiving. I talk a lot about how the Atomic Backland would be a good first powder ski because it can float, but it doesn't give you a lot of momentum. It's kind of more prioritizing quick little turns. It's a light ski, obviously, for backcountry skiing. But on the opposite side of that, you have the Black Crow's Atris, which really is going to give you a fast line, going to be able to set you up to go through powder sections that you couldn't go through in some of those other skis. So that all being said, though, I think that if you're a really advanced powder skier, or if you're somebody who wants to get better at it, or somebody who wants a really aggressive ski, this was probably Zach's favorite powder ski. I guess I can't speak for him fully. It'd probably be somewhere between the Peak 104 and the Black Crow's Atris. But he said, like, man, I wish I could put a few more days on that ski because it was so much fun. And I have to agree, the more you ski on it, the better you get at it, the more you kind of set up your lines, and the more aggressively you ski. It is a blast to ski on, and just an excellent, excellent powder ski. But you know, if you're, like I said, if you're getting new into powder, maybe look at some of the other ones on this list. But if you're like, man, I'm just not getting enough speed to like go up some of those ridge lines, or I'm not getting enough speed to quite set up the lines I want, maybe give the Black Crow's Atris a try. I also really liked how it's damp in that it kind of mutes out some of the harsher vibrations or more of the chatter on the ski without being deaf. Like some skis, especially carving skis, can be a little bit on the deaf side. K2 Mindbender comes to mind. This lets you feel all of the good parts of the ski without feeling a lot of the more unpleasant parts. Especially when you're in powder, you want to kind of get a good feel as you're going, because sometimes, you know, when it's snowing hard, there's not great clarity in the visuals. It's nice to have a good connection from your feet to the snow. Overall, I love the ski and I would highly recommend it. All right, number 2 on the list is the Salomon QST 106. Now, this is the 2023 graphic. It's the same as 2024 and 2025. They just changed the top sheets. This ski is tied for my top favorite powder ski. Now, this ski is very unique in its ski style that it kind of rewards. It's a little bit more like a snowboard. You kind of lean on the back and wash out your turns, and it's very, very fun. I struggled to find anything I didn't really like about this. Initially, I couldn't find anything. Over the year of skiing on it, I found a couple things that are little nitpicks, but overall, this was a fabulous, fabulous powder ski. It surfs out its turns. It can still like turn well and be comfortable on and off trail. I like the QST 106 better than the QST Blank. The QST Blank is just so wide that after a few hours of skiing, it really hurt my hips. This does not. It gives you that like double sidewall to kind of sit on when you put it on edge. It's really like more on the sendy side, so you have to kind of learn to master this. But the overall flotation, the turn style, I always I used to snowboard for several years, and it was always like, wow, snowboarding on a powder day is hard to beat. The problem you run into is that if you get stuck, or if you go in the trees and you can't make a turn because of the powder has kind of changed the line, it can be frustrating. This is the closest I've felt to snowboarding on skis. This is the most satisfying feeling when you get it right. Now you have to kind of sit on the tails a little bit more. You have to be able to kind of swoop out and wash out your turns. But if you're willing to do that, and if you're willing to kind of master the style to accommodate these skis, they are 100% just a blast to ski on powder. These are tied with the #1 spot. I just couldn't decide between these and the other skis. I own these skis. I'm happy to own them. I didn't miss a single powder day. Any day that there was a powder day for snow, I kept these in my car. Do I think that they're better powder skis? No, I think they're just different powder skis. They're powder skis that prioritize different things, but these were phenomenal. I really love my QST 106. I'm really glad that I got them. They have a lot of the good things that are on the QST 98 carry over, and then you get that designated powder ski width that just, I don't know, it just carries all the good things into a powder ski without making the compromises that the QST 98 makes. So this is a really fun ski. If you're thinking about it, I can't recommend it any more than spending my own money to buy these. I think last year I got these for $520. I can't remember exactly. Maybe it was a little bit less. I don't remember exactly. But, you know, I spent my own money on these and love them all year long. The little downside I have found is the tips like to cross, and I'm not sure if that's a me thing or what, but Zach skied on these and he said the same thing. If you're not having them initiated, or if you're not leaning back slightly, the tips tend to like to grab each other. Now I haven't been able to play with the mounting point to see if I'd like them a little bit back or a little bit forward. I guess just if you're buying these and you first get on them, pay attention to where your skis are, pay attention to your stance, because the tips have a tendency to kind of want to run into each other or guide into each other. They're not asymmetrical, but I've read in other forums that people have had this problem, and I did notice it happen a few times, but I think a lot of that could just be mastering the ski over time and getting used to it, and literally it happened maybe 2 or 3 times in the year. But something to watch out for. And the other thing I've noticed with wear and tear over time, these are starting to fall apart. I mean, I wasn't particularly gentle with them, I guess, but there's no reason that the top sheet should be separating off the tip like this. And I've read in forums people having big issues with delamination. So anyway, just worth pointing out. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by anyone. I'm gonna tell you the good and the bad and any shortcomings I come across, and this is definitely one of them. If I was gonna rescore these, I'm not sure that they're a total 10 out of 10. They're very good. They're insanely good. But if I could rescore them, it'd probably be more like a 9.8 out of 10, something like that. It's just one of those things, like once you put enough mileage on it, you're like, oh, well, I didn't find these in the first couple of days of skiing on them, but you know, after owning them, this is kind of my insight and some little things that have popped up over time. But again, very minor. These are probably more like a 9.8 or 9.9. I still really love these skis though, and for powder skis, this is an easy recommendation, especially if you've ever snowboarded, especially if you're like a pretty good powder skier and you're willing to kind of send it on these. This is a lot of fun. They do struggle more in the woods and bramble. You can get quick turns, but it's not as aggressively quick as some of the other skis. But I don't know, I mean, I think if you're a good skier and a good powder skier, this is the perfect blend of sendiness and maneuverability. All right, and for my #1 ski for powder skis for 2024 going into 2025. The Bent 110 honestly was probably my favorite powder ski of this year. I like the QST 106s. They both got 10 and 10s. They're probably tied. They're just kind of different. The Atomic Bent 110 is a little more flicky, a little more maneuverable. If you have like stashes of powder in between the trees, and that's kind of where the best snow is for you because it's not as accessible to the general public like it is in my home mountain Bogus Basin. I like the Bent 110 for that, because you can just get to things, you can make those tight turns. If you get into like one of those big gullies that has all the powder, but then you have to kind of scramble to get out where there isn't really much of a trail, I kind of think the Atomic Bent 110 does that all a lot better. Now, when you're in that big gully, the QST 106, big, open, surfy, powder, I don't know, the way you kind of get on the tails and ride it out, there's no better feeling than that. There really isn't in big, big powder. But when you get into the big powder and you kind of have to scramble afterwards, I like the Atomic Bent 110 a lot. And the flotation is on par with the QST 106. So I don't know. I honestly am very torn about this personally because I have the QST 106, and if money was no object, I would probably run out and buy a pair of Atomic Bent 110s right now. The problem is you only have 10 to 15 powder days every year anyway. So it's like, okay, am I really gonna drop over $1,000 on skis, bindings, everything for just powder skis? That's not practical. That doesn't make any sense. But for you guys at home looking for a powder ski and you're someone who likes to go in the trees and go in the powder and wants to kind of blend those two worlds, I can't recommend it enough. It's a phenomenal ski. The only downsides I had, honestly, were it's a very light ski and it's got that full horizon tech. So if you're gonna get in bad conditions, it's really gonna struggle there. And on top of that, the top sheets, they're not great. They have kind of grown on me. I think the 2025 graphics actually look really great, but the 2024 is what's on sale. And that's what I would recommend if you're watching this now. If you're watching in the future, yeah, maybe go with whatever's on sale. But those are two very small downsides in an otherwise phenomenal ski. In my opinion, the things that are most important for a powder ski are maneuverability in the trees and the deep powder performance. And I think the Atomic Bent 110 just has that in spades. And I think as our winters get more and more crowded with people and you have to kind of search for those pockets of powder more in the early season, I think the Bent 110 just excels in those two areas. And right now to me, those are the two most important fields for a powder ski in 2024 going into 2025. So anyway, that's the end of this video. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking and subscribing. It's a free way to support the channel. We also have memberships down below. Like I said before, I will also have links to all these skis so you can get them. They are really good sales right now, so definitely check those out. But more than anything, just thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time to watch my content. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.